Also in Christ Jesus, who being in the form of God, thought it not robbery to be equal with God, made himself of no reputation, took upon him the form of a servant, and found him a likeness of men. Being found in fashion as a man, humbled himself, and became obedient unto death, even the death of the cross. Wherefore God has highly exalted him, and given him a name above every name. That name is Jesus. We bless your name. We bless your name. And we exalt your name. Your deity.
I like the way I am. Though I've got a long way to go, I like the road that I'm on. Every day I'm learning more. I like the way I made. Not another one quite like me, no. After all is said and done, I'm happy with me. I like the way I am. Though I've got a long way to go, I like the road that I'm on. And every day I'm learning more.
Good evening, everybody. I would like to welcome you to the Sanctity of Sisterhood. I am my sister's keeper. I am so excited about being here tonight with you guys. I'm so excited just to connect. It's been like 3 months since we've been on, and thank you for every inbox, every text message, and all the love that you've shown asking when the show was coming back. Just thank you for bearing with us. Tonight's show is going to be amazing. I have my sister with me on tonight. I have my sister with me tonight, Pastor Charmaine Freeland, and we're going to talk about sisterhood and friendships. Friends, how many of us have them? And so we're just going to get into it. Would you welcome tonight my sister, Charmaine Freeland? Hey, sis.
Hey, my darling. So happy to
I'm
be here with
Yes,
you.
I'm so happy to have you on here with me tonight. Like I said, it's been like 3 months since we stopped the show because of transition and moving, but I am so glad to be on here tonight and with you. And
And I'm happy
so
that you're back.
you've done so many amazing things before we move forward. My sis is an entrepreneur now. If you didn't know, now you know. Woo, woo. She is the CEO of Charmaine Freeland Manicured Hands, that Freeland Enterprises, her and her husband. And I am so excited for you guys. I'm so excited where God has taken you, all of the open doors that's happening for you. Keep on encouraging us. Just talk to us a little bit about what you do.
First of all, I'm so glad you're back. I was missing you too, but I'm enjoying and seeing your new journey as CEO, Lady Loho. I love it. I love it. I love it. And so God has really prospered us in the pandemic is a terminology and a phrase that I have coined throughout this time because that is exactly what he did. He gave us a few ideas and we ran with it. So um, Manicured Hands is a woman's modern guide to homemaking. And so we are putting content out to help women navigate day to day practical navigation throughout the home, and knowing that home making is more than just cooking and cleaning, but there's so many other facets to being a homemaker. And Freeland Family Enterprise is the umbrella that Manicured Hands is under. It's Freeland Family Enterprise is actually a 501c3 non-for-profit organization. So we can pretty much do a lot of things with that organization. And so God has told us to build a legacy, and that is our task, and that is our mission.
I'm so excited for you because at the end of the day, like you said, it's all about legacy. And with having, children, you got a daughter, you have a daughter, and you want to raise her up to know that, you could do this. Black girls rock. and that
That's right.
anything you put your hands to do, that you can do it. I'm so proud of you, sis. I really am. Producing in the pandemic, right? Because it's not all about, like you said, some of us have 9 to 5s and some of us don't. And even if you have a 9 to 5, who says you can't have a hustle? Because I've learned that you need to have a hustle.
Have to.
You
Have
have to
to.
have a hustle. Yes, have to. It's necessary to have a hustle. Hey, everybody, take a few minutes and just share this out for us. Share this video out for us on tonight, this show. Thank you for joining us again, me and my sisters on here. And we're just going to talk about sisterhood and friendships, and, what does that look like and what does that mean? um in the day and time that we're living in, right? Because we all know that um friendships and sisterhoods are few and far in between nowadays. And
True.
I'm seeing, sis, I don't know about you, have you, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of posts about people saying, in this pandemic I've learned who my real friends are, or I've learned, who my haters are, or who not to, hook up with, and who, how, what people really meant to me. And, I just, I feel like, when we walk into a relationship with someone, right, we should always be friends with them. I'll never forget, and I'll share with you guys because it's me and my sister, and we're just talking. But and I think I told this story before, when Shamel and I met, we met through church. um, and I was actually talking to First Lady McGinnis, and we were just talking after a service, and she was like, "Hey, I want you to meet." At that time, you was Minister Freeland. I want you to
Mhm.
meet Minister Freeland. I think she's somebody that you should be connected to. I feel like you guys would be good friends, and y'all, you guys will link up. So I'm like, okay. In my mind, I'm like, another, because it's just like you don't know what to expect with people, especially in church. So it's just like, all right, whatever. So from that friendship, from that day one, when you came over, you were nice, you were genuine, right? And so we already sometimes hear things about people and automatically feel like, all right, is she gonna be fake? Is she gonna do this, or is she gonna be that way? Because we going based on what other people have said. And so we have those ideas of people already painted in our head, because if we're honest, we have allowed people to say things about other people to us, and it taints our view of people.
Very true.
Right. So I was just like, okay, whatever. Not really thinking that we would be cool, or that we would talk, or even become friends. And I don't even know how it happened or when it happened. It was just like
Mm.
a it was like a smooth
Natural, like a
transition.
natural bond.
Yeah, good evening, Verna. Yes, Shanna, she is the best. I
Wow.
concur. And I know you're saying that because that's your mama, but I concur. She is the best. Yeah, and so I was just like, I don't know, but it was a smooth transition. And tonight I want to encourage anybody that's on here that's saying, you know what, I really don't want to be friends with another female, especially not in church, because that's what we're hearing. If we're honest, I'm not linking up with another chick in church.
Right. Right.
So, sis, talk to us about that.
I can understand why people might even have their reserves about meeting females in church or whatever. I just really think that our friendship, like you said, is like it just that day and then today. You know what I mean? Like the first day when she was like, "Oh, Charmaine, this is Shamel, Shamel, this is Charmaine." Then I had a wedding, and you was every bit a part of my wedding. And then you met this guy named Dwayne, and then he was like, "Sis, he's the bomb." I'm like, "Okay, so what's happening next?" And I was in your wedding, and then the children and everything just happened divinely, and we've been friends through some crazy times, through some amazing times. Like we had our monthly, meeting that we had
Right.
to do dinner every month, and then we had a family, and that fell off. But one thing about it is nothing between us fell off. Like it didn't matter if we didn't speak for months. We just had a bond, and that bond wasn't predicated on the good or the bad times. Like to answer to what you were speaking about, like getting friends. Some people they don't want to open themselves up because of past friendships that they've had that failed. I honestly I don't know if I've had failed friendships, but I have been betrayed. You understand? I've been betrayed by people that I called friend, but was that considered a failed friendship to know me? No, it was something that I feel like I probably had to go through so that my real ones, I would appreciate them even more. You know, it teaches you something. It shouldn't make you bitter because you were betrayed. If bitterness comes as a result of the betrayal, then you didn't learn anything. You just are a hurt person.
Right.
So I've been betrayed by females or whatever, but that didn't, I'm glad that it didn't stop me from being friends with you, who was an absolute stranger. I had no references except for she goes to Morningstar. You know what I mean? And
Right.
that's the only reference that I really had. And so I'm glad that the betrayal that I had prior to meeting you didn't stop this beautiful sanctity, this sisterhood that we have. What it did is it made me more loyal. And that's what's lacking. It's a lot of disloyal people out here, man.
Right. And it's like we feel like, especially in church, right? So we always feel like, oh, they should know better. We in church, we should know better. We should know how to, be friends, and we should know, the morals and how to treat people. But honestly, some people never really had anybody to teach them how to be a friend. They never really had examples. And then some people had examples and they still, fell short of, being that friend to someone. The Bible says, in order to have friends, you must show yourself to be a friend. And sometimes, in that on that course, like you said, it's lessons that you had to go through. Now you talked about, you had, some betrayals. And sometimes having betrayals makes you bitter. I'm a witness. When you become betrayed by somebody that you feel, or people that you feel like are your friends, then it makes you put up a wall. It makes you feel like, oh, I'm not messing with nobody else. We can't be friends no more. I don't want to be friends with another girl. They talk too much. They this, they that. Um, I want to, because we're being honest and transparent. There was a time in our friendship where, and I never really, I mean, because of how we are, I'll never forget. We were just having some type of conversation, and you mentioned something to me, and you said, "Sis, I heard such and such that you said," and I was like, "Me?" Like, of all people, I'm thinking, I said that about you? I would never. Although we knew that it was a lie, and and you basically said, like, because of what was said, I didn't know what to think. But one thing is for sure, you never treated me different. You never even really brought it up to me, saying anything to me. But when I said, what? Nah, I would never do that to you.
Mhm,
And it was just
mhm,
like, what? Come to think about it, I know you wouldn't do that. And it was like water under the bridge.
period.
So, right, period. We ended it, and it wasn't no discussions to be had because we know the source wasn't valuable, and we knew the games that was played. And what I want to say to you out there is that sometimes when you hear people say things about you, or say something about someone who you know is your sister or your friend, you gotta look at all aspects of it, right? You gotta pay attention to, is this person valuable? What is their history, right? Because we're throwing away good sisterhoods and good friendships and relationships over he said, she said, and things that could be resolvable if
True.
we took time to really invest in our friendships instead of just throwing everybody away. If we threw everybody away that wronged us or hurt us, or if everybody that we've hurt or wronged threw us away, we would be lonely people.
True.
And so, sis, tell us, talk to us about, how do you feel like we should, how do we be friends to people after being hurt?
Right. I think you should be to somebody else what you want for yourself. Right. So I always that, that was years ago that we had that conversation where it was some hearsay stuff and we talked about it. And then I had a situation that was like, well, did you hear this? You know what I mean? And I had to
Right.
go to my sister because it was this whole little circle thing. And I'm like, well, look, let's talk because I need to have this conversation with you. It wasn't an easy conversation to have, but I think because of the seed that I sowed years ago in our friendship, of love, the seed of understanding, the seed of grace, the seed of mercy, the same thing was restored back to me, because she could have went off and said, no, you wilding, what are you doing, get out of here, why are you even carrying yourself like that, what's wrong with you? Because I was out of pocket, right? And you know what my sister said to me? She said, no, I'm disappointed that you're moving like that, but whatever, we all get caught up sometimes, and I get it, right? Because that's the relationship that we have. We set the boundaries and the standards in our friendships by the way that we react to our friends, by the way that we react to our sisters. So if you find your sister in a fault, you don't start badgering her, and she may not need you to tell her that she's wrong, because 9 times out of 10, when we do something wrong, we know we did it. We know we're wrong. You already know, especially if you're a Christian, because you've been taught wrong. This is wrong. This is, some of us know wrong more than we know right, because that's what the saints of old put before us. Don't do this. Don't sin. Don't sin. Don't sin. Don't sin. Don't sin. Don't sin. And so now you're an adult. You might find yourself in a fault. When you have sisters, when you have friends, rather, that become sisters, those friends don't just badger you because you fell in a fault. They restore you. They restore you when you're wrong. They restore you back to life to let you know, like, don't worry. Don't keep making the same mistake. Don't be no fool. But you're okay. It's okay to make a mistake, and I'm still gonna love you regardless. So I just, I would encourage girls that's trying to be friends. First of all, be the friend to somebody else that you want to be, and don't call every single day. Calling every day, hanging out every day does not make us the best of friends. It don't make us the best of friends. Charmaine lives in a whole nother state. Now, I was feeling separation anxiety from her. When she told me she was leaving, I'm like, oh no, what do you mean? Like, we can't just run to Lindenwood now. You're all the way in Virginia, even though we weren't doing it every week or every month like we did before, but still you're so far, I can't just pull up no more. You know what I mean? So there was some anxiety when she was leaving, but it didn't tank the bond, because the bond is through the heart. Right. You know what I mean? So, I just think people need to just love your friends like you need somebody to love you.
Yeah, that's really good. And like you said, because friendship, first of all, if we're all working on our businesses, if we're all working on our homes and families on our grind, shout out to Shanna. I'm so proud of you, Nisi, and what you're doing, doing your thing, selling your shirts and all of these things. I see you. And it's important that we support the vision of our sisters, support each other. Me supporting Chamel's business and what she's doing takes nothing away from what God gave me. You supporting someone that you care about takes nothing away from what you're doing. And so we're in a day now where people saying, just because you have an idea and maybe I may do something that kind of looks like what you're doing, that doesn't mean that someone's copying you or stealing your vision. We got to get that. That's foolishness. People, like, all the foolish things that people say out of their mouths against people that they say are their friends. Like, oh, I told them I was doing this, now they copying me. It's room in the kingdom for everybody.
Everybody. Facts.
Everybody. It's room for everybody to win. We could all be winners, but we got to get that toxic mentality out of the way, as to say that we can't push another person's vision because they're going to get ahead of us.
Yeah, that's horrible. It's disgusting. When you were saying that, it made me think about, the other day, because sometimes when you don't know, that's why you got to be around people that's going to keep it 100. Like, I'd rather have 2 people that's going to keep it 100 with me than 20 people around me that makes my entourage look amazing, but none of them are keeping it. They're all yes men. You know what I mean? You gotta have authentic people around you. That's what kill that comparison, and that wanna, that instead of support, like Verna said, instead of support, we compete. And this is why you gotta have real people around you. I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and they said, "Dag, everything I do, this other person is doing it. She's supposed to be my friend. I'm starting to feel like it's weird." And I said, "No, don't look at it like they're trying to compete with you. You're a trendsetter. People copy trends. So if she's your friend, that means she admires what you're doing. It's not a reason for you to go and feel like, oh, now the competition is on because I see you trying to compete."
Right.
It's not about competition. When you're doing something worth doing, other people are gonna want to do that too. So you can't make it, if be who you are. And if somebody want to do that, that's good. That's a good thing. Don't feel no type of way about that, especially if it's somebody in your circle.
Right.
Especially if it's somebody in your circle.
And be open to share, because like some what you're doing, I may want to do it, but I may not have all the tools. I might not have all the resources, and I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about all the legwork. So maybe, you can say, hey, do it this way. This is how I did it, but these are other resources that I didn't get a chance to use, so maybe these may work for you. And like you said, instead of looking at it as a competition, now I gotta compete with you because I feel like you're about to get ahead of me, or maybe what you're doing is going to prosper faster and you're going to make more than me and you're going to have more than me. No, we all we all should be support to one another and be able to push one another up, and not have the crab in the barrel mentality, like, oh, I'm going to pull her down before she get to the top. No, we can all
Yeah.
push each other and we can all be great.
The truth is, the crab in a barrel mentality really it exists in our community like heavy, because it was designed to exist in our community very heavy. And so I remember, well, I think it was William Penn, I believe it was, that wrote the letter. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe I'm saying the wrong name, but I remember a white slave owner wrote a letter saying, "How do you keep Black people separated? What you do is you put the light skins with the light skins, and you show the dark skins that the light skins have more favor, or they're getting preferential treatment, and then the dark skins will always hate the light skins. But then you separate the light skins by the ones who have long hair and short hair." And so
Mm.
that same mentality, it transcended from generation to generation to generation. So those of us that understand that there is room for everybody, and that each of us have our own individual way of doing something, and each one of us have the ability to excel, then we wouldn't have this crab in a barrel mentality. You know what I mean? Because there is room for every one of us, literally. And when you're comfortable and confident in yourself, you don't care who else is winning. You don't care, because you know that God gave you something that's exceptional. I would never, think to hate on you. Why would I hate on my sister? Like bravo, go girl, go. You understand? Even if I can't tune in every time you're on, it doesn't mean that I'm hating because I can't tune in. Maybe I'm doing something else at the moment, but my support is still there because I'm still sending vibes of love to you,
Right.
even if I'm not on your live. I'm still sending prayers up for you to succeed, even if I'm not on your live. So sometimes we think presence is the only way to support, and the lack of presence does not mean hate.
Mm, that's good right there. You said a mouthful, because that is how we are trained to believe. That is how we're trained to think. And in all honesty, if we take that mentality out of the church, we would make for a better people, because that is like the number one thing that you hear people say. It's haters. It's, oh, if someone is doing something, if someone don't support you, they don't care about you, they don't love you. If you don't show up to my stuff, I'm not showing up to your stuff. Listen, because we're dragging it from one place into our personal lives, and even it. And if we're honest, we're taking it into our friendships and relationships with people that are not even in church, right? And so we're developing and we're creating these boundaries and these guidelines that should not even exist. Honestly, men don't have these issues. They don't have
Yeah.
them.
Mm-mm.
They're able to support each other, push each other, and move on. It's only us as women because we're always trying to compete. We're always trying to be the next big thing, the next big this or the next big that. When we don't have to do that, like you said. When all we have to really do is push and support each other. I'll never forget when I text you and said, Mel, this is what I'm doing. This is what God gave me. You was like, that's what's up. I'm with you. Whatever you need me to do, I'm there. And honestly, there were times where you couldn't get on the live, but after, whenever you got to see a little snippet of it, you would text me, hey, good job, whatever. And that was what was up. And then when you was doing your thing, you ran it past me, you said, what do you think about this is that. And I was happy for you. And
Yeah.
that's how it should be. Being genuine and happy for someone, happy for your sister, that you know what, they making it, that God gave them a vision, and that they didn't just sit on it. Some of
Yeah.
you are too afraid to pursue the vision that God gave you. And then you get mad when God give it to somebody else. He didn't take it away from you, but he gave it to you and you didn't do nothing with it. So I know somebody that's not afraid to move in what I gave them. So now they picked it up and now you sitting on the side like, well, God gave that to me. I could have did it this way. No.
Do it that way when God give you the opportunity. The problem when you get your chance, you do it that way. Okay, sis? All right. That's the truth. All right. This is we talk a lot. This is real on here. I love this platform because it's never ever like a watered down version of the truth. It's the whole truth. Some people you just gotta be like, girl, bye. You know, bye Felicia became a real slogan because you just gotta tell some people, bye Felicia. What are you talking about? When somebody start chatting too much and it's just like changing the whole vibe, the whole everything, that's the girl that you need to just tell her, all right, bye. But then Charmaine, I learned something. There's some girls that just like to talk, right? You got some chatterboxes, the ones that was in the class that just ain't never shut up. Those girls is okay for them to be around you too because they're being themselves. I've learned like I used to get annoyed. Hey Raven.
Ray,
Hey
she
Ray.
she didn't want to join us tonight.
You gotta join us, Raven. It's not too late. But you know, I was saying like some girls that I used to only talk to certain girls because they were a certain way and they complimented me, my personality. So I don't really like too much chatty, kiki, too much. That after a while it aggravates me. But I've learned as I matured that those girls can be good friends too. Like I was being judgmental to them when I found out that like just because somebody is a certain way doesn't mean that I have the right or that I should push them aside because I could be missing out on a good friend, you know? And I think sometimes we'll do that to people. Just yeah, the drama queens, the ones that's just all over the place and just always got something. But I've learned to just be friends with those girls too and allow them to be themselves and I'm still going to be myself and the friendship can still be effective, you know? Sometimes we just want
Yeah,
a certain mold and that's it, which
right.
makes
And
you
we
be cliquish.
Yeah, we got to be able to, we have to learn how to allow people to be themselves and freely be themselves, right? And so you know your boundaries, right? And when you know that, like you said, you don't really like chatty people too much, too many people. And I can be in a room full of people. And when conversations, and it has happened when conversations got to be too much, I know how to silence myself. So we've got to learn how to silence ourselves and listen because sometimes those people that have a lot to say and are very mouthy, they just want to see how you're going to handle the situation because they already know you, right? They already know. They already know how you are, how you move. So it's like, all right, I'm gonna see how far I can go. I'm gonna see, what I can say. And there have been situations where I've been around certain people, and when if certain conversations or certain people's name came up, I had to learn how to shut it down and be okay with saying, "Nah, we're not gonna talk about that." Or nah, we're not gonna say that. Because we got to learn. Yes, we could be friends with people, we can have relationships and bonds and all of those things, but you've got to learn how to be able to say, nah, that's too far.
Yeah,
And I honestly feel like, sis, a lot of us would not be so hurt or would know how to be true, loyal friends to people if we knew how to shut certain things down.
very true.
Not just sitting there laughing and joking with everything. And it's okay, like you said, take yourself out of the box. Be friend. You learn how to be friends with everybody. You learn how to get along and move when you needed to, right? And so that we have to learn how to do that in our personal lives. But we are there on the flip side of that. Since we're being honest, we got to learn how to be able to be like, no, that's out of line. That's out of order. You shouldn't be saying that, and not be afraid of that person being mad at us or not being our friends. What is that? Because people say, I want you to be real with me. I want you to keep it real with me. And then when you do that, it's like, who she thinks she's talking to? Or no, she didn't. No, know how to shut people down. You know what I started doing? Because once I learned, like, like you said, to be a friend, there are certain guidelines and certain things you just don't break, right? So before I learned how to be loyal, before I learned how to be a true friend to somebody, and not run my mouth and gossip, God had to show me myself, right? So now, if I hear somebody saying something, hold on, hold that thought. Let me call so and so.
Me all day.
Let me
Me
get
all
them
day.
on the
We're gonna
phone,
get them on
or
the phone, and
let's do a three-way so we can hash it out. Because you know what? Life is too short. And while, we're running around, hi, Sister Malika. While we're running around, saying, oh, there's no real sisters, there's no real friends. No, that's not true. That's not true. There are a lot of real people. You just got to be willing to hear the realness and be able to hear when they say, you know what, we're not talking about that.
right. You gotta have that power. You gotta be, and that's true realness. When you just could tell somebody, but I don't really see it that way. I mean, could it possibly be that it was the conversation, or it could be this way? You don't have to just always agree. Like, you don't have to just be the co-signer. Sometimes you gotta be the one to say, no, let's void this contract that you're trying to write against this person, because this is really a little bit too much. Sometimes you gotta be the one to show another perspective of the person or of the situation. And if there's somebody that's like a jacked up individual, just say that, like, yo, you feeding too much into this person. This person is this way. You can't change that. You can't change the narrative of that person's personality. You just got here a minute ago. They've been that person for as long as they've been alive. What makes you think because they did something to you that you're going to have the power to change who they are? Like, you Jesus. You ain't Jesus, sis. You ain't Jesus. Leave them alone. You guys, sometimes you have to, for your friends too, you got to kind of change. Sometimes you got to be the friend to change the perspective. Change the perspective. Like, all right, I see it, you see it that way, but this is how I'm kind of seeing it, to help your friend. Not that you're trying to talk them off a ledge all the time, but and if an ace is an ace, then be the friend to call it's an ace. Yeah, you 1000% right. you know
And so, what would you say to someone who's having a difficult time with, they have a friend, and there are certain things about this friend that maybe they don't really agree with, but they go along with, but they're tired of it, right? So I met someone in school, right? And so we were talking, and she was like, I know somebody, like every time I she's just negative. How do we How do we go to those people? Because you know what? A lot of times we know that people are not always gonna, see themselves, right? And so we get frustrated when we try to tell people the truth and they don't see it. How do we release ourselves from that frustration and just be able to be honest with people, and then, you know what, walk away? And then as we're walking away, not walk away like, oh, I'm not their friend no more, but walk away, and then the next day we still able to be friends with the person.
I think when you go to have that conversation with the person, not having the conclusion already mapped out in your mind, like not saying, well, I'm gonna go tell this person this about herself and this, and it's gonna go this way, but just going in with a clear conscience, with a clear mind, and saying, and if it's a hard conversation, just being honest with that person and saying, listen, I got to have this hard conversation with you. It's not easy for me. I've been trying to figure out how to say this, whatever, but this is what I need to say to you. And please know that I love you. Start off with a positive. Start off with something positive to say to that person. Highlight that person's positives before you just go in on them and telling them all about their negatives, because none of us want to feel like we're being attacked by somebody that we call our friends. So tell me something good about myself before you just gonna tell me something crazy. If you come, you might get a different outcome from me. If you come in and you say, hey girl, look, you've been amazing, or you haven't been, whatever you feel about me, positive, and then tell me, but I need to talk to you about this. There's this thing that you do. There's this thing that you say. There's this way that you are that I'm not saying that I can't be your friend, but I just want you to just look at it. Just take a look into it. You know what I mean? You can't tell you, girl, you need to change that, because if you don't change it, you can highlight some time, you know, because you're not my mother. You're my friend. I don't want to. I just, sometimes we go too hard and, go extra hard. One of my sisters, my biological sister, she's like very like a stickler, if you ain't doing it this way, it's wrong. And it's wrong because I said it's wrong and you need to fix it. And one day I was talking to one of my friends and she was like, and I was kind of like telling her about herself. And she's like, oh my God, you sound like your sister. I was like, no, I don't want to sound like that. Because I just don't want to ever be the person to make somebody feel bad when my intention is to help them to become better. But I'm also wise enough to know that even if she's not better today, the seed is already planted for her to become better. And my prayer is that one day she will become better and not bitter about the conversation that we're having. So that's what I would kind of tell people.
That's really good, sis, because, like you said, if we just plant seeds, we plant small seeds, and then, eventually something, I believe that eventually something will catch hold, right? Eventually, one, like something that you said, they will remember, back, or like you said, you was talking to your friend and she reminded you, like, uh-oh, red flag, I see something that you're saying that you don't like about your sister, but I see it in you. And sometimes we don't like to see those, ugly parts of us, those parts of us that we feel like we mastered, that, someone shows us where we haven't quite mastered it. And you know what? And that's okay. That just means that we need to go back and look again, look in the mirror, fix ourselves, get ourselves together, and then try and go back and go, if you got to go back to God and say, Lord, make me over again, show me, teach me how to be better. Or if you have a mentor, that you feel like you need to go to and speak to, because listen, ladies, it is okay to talk to people.
True,
And you don't always got to go to your pastor. You don't
true,
always got to go to your first lady. There are a lot of amazing women in church. I know that there are a lot of people that have this thing where they say, don't talk to people in the church. Don't talk to women in church. Don't tell them your business. Listen, everybody's not telling everybody's business. There are a lot of amazing women in church, young and old. That discernment that we use for everybody else, sometimes we gotta use for ourselves, because we need to look at ourselves. Are we the issue? Is it that we are looking at people to be the problem, or are we really the problem? That we can't identify ourselves is to say, why can't I find one good person in a church? Why can't I find 10 good people in a church that I go to? And I'm not saying you got to tell somebody all of your business, but listen, there are people that been through what you've been through, or that are going through what you've gone through, and it's okay to be transparent. We've got to know that everybody's gone through something, and if we all keep up a wall, if we all keep our mouths shut, then none of us would be delivered.
It's true.
None of us would be able to come out of that toxic mentality of saying that there are no loyal people. There are a lot of disloyal people, but honestly, Mel, I'm inclined to believe that God has made a lot of loyal people, a lot of genuine women, a lot of good women, a lot of women that say, you know what, I've been through bad sisterhood, I've been through bad relationship, bad friendships, but that has taught me, like you said, lessons learned, how to be a better sister, how to be a better friend to somebody.
And you learn, Charmaine, you're supposed to learn from those situations. Like anything that came and made you feel like less than a person, anything that made you feel horrible, it's I believe that every negative is designed to make you better. The enemy wants you to be bitter. And I do see the bitterness that's in somebody's heart, it comes out of their mouth. And that I honestly feel a little disgusted sometimes when I hear women speaking, and you can tell, oh, somebody hurt you. You can tell. And not only did they hurt you, but you never got over it. You never allowed yourself you never took the liberty of getting over it, because getting over what they did to you is for you. It's not for them, because they don't went on with their life. They done scarred you and probably don't even really know the damage that they did to you. And they done moved on and just doing whatever, but you're still stuck there. And now you can't be friends with anybody else or trust anybody else, because you're still bitter about what happened, instead of seeing it from a different lens to say, Dag, that happened to me. What area of my life didn't I protect? That I left that portal open enough for that woman to come in and do this damage to me. First of all, let me go and close that portal so nobody else can come and do to me what happened. I don't want it done to me again, so I'm going to have to, the remedy is not stop loving women, because you have to love. That's the commandment of God. You have to love. The remedy is not, well, I'm just going to keep these walls up and ain't nobody going to get in and that's just going to be it. No, the remedy is close the portal that was open for those people to even come in. And that may take time. That might not happen in one night of you saying, I'm fed up, I'm done. It may take years for you to say, I rebuke the attraction that causes me to be attracted to people that hurt me. Not just women, people that hurt me. So I think that it's an internal dealing that has to happen. Some of us was teased when we were kids, little girls. Some of us had situations as little girls when we were in school. They pulled my hair. They talked about me because I was overweight. I was too small. I was too big. Somebody went through something as a little girl and they carried the burdens of their childhood into an adulthood. And the first resemblance of that hurt from their childhood, they want to go crazy and go nuts because ain't nobody going to hurt me like I was hurt in elementary school again. And it's hard for women to get over It's hard for them to get over, and they start to show the bitterness instead of becoming better.
Absolutely. Um, Overseer Lowe said some women don't know how to denounce the hurts of their past. It went, most people don't understand the importance of renouncing the wounds of their past. I totally agree with that. You know, it's like when you go to the AA meetings, right? You go there because you know that change needs to take place, but you have to confess. There's a confession. When you
True.
go there, they make you confess. What is your problem? What is the issue? What are you dealing with? So then you can get to the root of the problem. For some of us, we're not going to be delivered. We're not going to get past what has happened to us, what has hurt us, who has hurt us, whatever, who we've hurt, until we speak it out of our mouths to say, this hurt me. I've hurt someone.
Yes.
And you know, we may not always feel like we want to go to the person, you know, because maybe we're not mature enough to do that yet. But out of your own mouth, you have to start speaking some things. People own those scars and make them a part of their lives forever. I truly agree with
Very,
that.
very true.
And a witness, I it took me a while to like get rid of a lot of scars. Mel, I'm sure for you too, it took you time to get rid of, but it didn't happen until I acknowledged what happened, what had taken place, what had, you know, what was it that really truly broke me and hurt me. And you know, I for me, it was going to it was I couldn't go to the person. You know what? Get your brother Mel, get him, okay? Bishop designate, sorry.
Please put some respect on his name, okay?
Respect on his name. I'm out of pocket. I'm out of order tonight. But it for me, it was me texting the individual, putting it all out there. And you know what? I had to say, even if you don't respond, I'm okay. And I
Right.
had to, and I meant that. The person never ever responded, nothing. You know what? I'm okay with that. And if I ever saw the person again, I would be all right.
Yeah.
Because we got to learn how to unload some things. And while we're renouncing and unloading, we've got to truly be honest with ourselves to be free from it. We
Yes.
have to decide if we're going to be hurt or if we're going to be healed. Right,
True.
Ray? The choice is ours.
True. And to
And
add to what Raven said, I think healed people speak a different language than hurt people. When you were healed, you speak a different language than when you were hurt. Because when you're hurt, you're speaking from a place of hurt. But when you're healed, you're speaking from a place of trying to help hurt people. You understand? So
mhm.
I don't think especially in church, I didn't grow up in
Thank you,
church.
sister.
My mother backslid, and so the kids we all backslid when my mother backslid. My grandmother, of course, woman of God, everything. But while we were in the world, I experienced some of my teenage years in the world. And it wasn't until, and I'm going to share this with the women on here, it was not until I came to church and was in church, rededicated my life to God, giving God my all, whole heart, everything, Charmaine, giving God everything that was within me, because I promised him that if he would save me, that I would serve him and I would do his will. And I meant that. And when I got in church, oh my God, I was faced with hatred, not out of my own heart. The first time in my life that I felt the hatred of another person, and it was women, was in the body of Christ, in the church of the true and living God. And I was so confused. I was confused because I thought this was a place where everybody loved. I thought this was a place of peace. I thought this was a place. Now, when you get behind the scenes, you start seeing the real hounds and the hellions and well, baby, They pulled me from the altar to behind the scenes to show me this is what it is, honey. And that's the type of stuff that I was faced with in church. The reason I never backslid as a result, the reason I never became bitter, I'm not going to say I didn't become bitter, because there was a point where I felt like, God, just give me a minute to retaliate. Please, let me show them how. Let me just retaliate, God. But God kept his hand on me and told me, you don't respond. And when I did what you just said, you said it's all right to go tell other women about what you're going to. I went to Dr. Angela Moses and I spoke to her. And Dr. Angela Moses said something to me that I say to everybody, every woman that goes through anything. And she said, you can't cure what you did not cause. You didn't cause them to be mean to you like that. They were mean before you met them. You didn't cause them to hate you. They hated people before they met you. She said, this is what you do. I said, well, I want to say some stuff. I need somebody to just tell me to just go ahead.
And give you the go ahead.
I want to get in trouble. Just somebody give me the green light. But nobody gave me the green light. So she said something to me that stuck with me, and that was, respond with success, not with your words. And that stuck with me. And I always did that. But there is some people that has experienced this type of hurt in church, and they left the church. The reason I did not leave the church is because I never came to church for people. I needed God. I felt God in church, and I didn't want to depart from God. So that's why I never left. And it made me better. It didn't make me bitter. Even if I had a season where I felt like confused and I felt like I wanted to lash out and I felt like I wanted to do some things and say some things, I held my peace and I watched the Lord fight my battles. Literally. Watch the Lord fight my battles. And I'm saying that to say this to somebody, because as soon as somebody in church do something to somebody, the first thing they want to do is run out the front door and curse God. They just want to run out the front door. We don't want to hear nothing else from God. But God didn't do it. Crazy people did it.
Right. And if we're honest, Mel, right? Because if we're honest, right? Because I already know the enemy is mad, right? Because you're telling your testimony. If we're honest, right? Because you're telling your testimony, and thank you. But the flip side of that is we haven't always been right people, right? So when we, just like you said, like you've encountered mean people, right? So what would you say to the girl who came to church and who may have felt like youth pastor Shamel was mean to me? I don't like the way she said something. I feel like she shunned me, or she did something to me and I feel like she didn't apologize right.
I would apologize again. I promise you that happened to me recently. And because I'm not perfect, and maybe, my tone wasn't the way that it should have been. And so the young lady was like, hold on, I don't know who you're talking to, but your tone is not okay. And she went off and I went off and I told her, well, you're not going to talk to me a certain type of way. But when I had to pull me back, youth pastor or not, she's a soul. And the reason why I'm the way that I am is because of what I've been through. And so immediately when she said, but you hurt me. Oh, I did what? I stopped what I was doing. And I said, I am so sorry. And my tone was not intended to offend you. My tone was not intended to hurt you. My tone was out of the passion that I have for making sure you get it right. My tone was out of love, but if it came across any other way, I need you to tell me right now that you forgive me. And you know what she did? She said, okay, sure, no problem. And then stopped speaking to me. You know what I did? Hey, boo-boo, you all right? and was sincere every time, because I knew what the enemy was trying to do. The enemy was trying to build up a wall so that she can have an issue with me. So when she comes to church, she will feel some type of way, or if I'm in the room with her, she will feel some type of way. And I didn't want that. So, but when she still was like, whatever, with the, I dust what the Jesus said. They don't receive you, dust
Dust it
your
off.
feet
Shake the
off
dust off your feet. That's right.
and stage exit. And that's what I did.
That's right, because just because you know you have something with someone, and once you've done your part and they've said that they've forgiven you, and now they want to act contrary to what they have said, and you still, as long as you still, and I had to learn that, as long as you still show the love of Christ, as long as you still keep your word, because you were sincere and you meant what you said. So you would have been wrong had you matched her behavior, you know. And like you said, that was part of your learning process from what people had done to you. So now you've learned, and I only wanted to bring that out because there's always going to be someone lurking to see, oh, people think they're they're better, or people think that they're, no one feels like they're better, or no one is trying to be, like they got it all together.
No,
I Mel, you already know, I rocks with you because you're honest. And when, let me tell you else something else, ladies, and we're wrapping up. We're about to be over our time, but find you a friend that you can be honest with, and that is going to be honest with you. Someone that is not going to be afraid to pull your coattail. Someone that you could say, listen, sis, X, Y, and Z, what's up? And they be like, you know what? I was wrong, or this is why, and be honest with you. Develop honest, pure friendships.
yes,
If that's what you want, you got to develop it and work at it. I thank God for you, Mel, because I always tell people, I post it, and it's not, an affront. It's how I feel. You have been my matron of honor, not just at the wedding day, all through the process. You held me accountable when you felt like I wasn't saying things right, when you felt like I wasn't doing what was right, when you felt like I wasn't living to my best potential. You held me accountable. You always said something. You was never afraid to address me, and I was never afraid to address you, no
nope,
matter what it was. And it was what it was, and we never fell out. We never stopped being friends.
nope.
Find you somebody that you can say at the end of the day, y'all might have a falling out, y'all might not speak for a week, 2 weeks, a month, a year, whatever. But at the end of the day, your friendship could come back solid because you built it.
Big
I
facts.
love you, Mel. Thank you so much. You know, don't nobody better not come to me about nothing negative about my sister. And if you do, I'll talk to you and I'll talk to her and I'll make it right, because that's just the type of person I am with any of my sisters, because
Yeah,
that's the way it's supposed to be. We got to hold each other accountable. If we as women hold each other accountable and pull each other coattail and bring each other to the table, then we would be better people. I
very
say it
true.
over and over again. The sanctity of sisterhood. I'm my sister's keeper. That is me. I am she. Mel, leave us with some last words.
I just want to say, Charmaine, that you are amazing, and it's easy to love you because you're always like just that person who is open, you're authentic. You have one of the purest hearts that I have ever met. I like, and I'm not just capping. This is no cap, this is no gas. Charmaine Lowhold has one of the most sincerest hearts. Her heart does not hold record of wrong. She is a true friend. She's a true sister. She is somebody that's worth having in your life. And I'm so grateful. I'm blessed to have a friend like her. Especially, we're grown now, we're older, we have families. We were friends before we had families. The only person was Ciara. It was just our Cece. And now we got a little tribe. And so we're grateful for our husbands and everybody. And we give each other that space to be women, to be human, to make mistakes, to make error, to cry. Give your friends that space to be themselves. Don't judge them because they messed up or they fell in a fault. Love them. Love them. And I see somebody in the comments said, when you know better, you do better. None of us have it 100%. Trust me, I've learned over the years. We're learning, we're still learning, we're still evolving. And it takes a village of us to be together, to put our minds together, to get this life, right? And we stand for positivity and no negativity. But if when negative coming your way, you got to have some type of weapon or something to combat it. And love is that combat. When you put love on everything, even when you want to curse somebody out and go crazy on them, instead take the route of love. You'll get a better result. I love you all. Thank you, Bishop Designate Dwayne Loho Sr. for this invitation. I love you guys so much. And I can't wait to get down there to come hang out with y'all. I miss y'all.
Yes, we can't wait. Come hang out with us, but we will see you this weekend for convocation. I'm so excited about convocation. More excited that I get to see my sisters. Um, I'm very excited about that. I get to see my rave and I get to see Mel and everybody. But I love you so much. Thank you, Mel. And like Shamel said tonight, let love abide, right? Listen, it's not always easy. You might not feel like it's the most, authentic thing to do, and you may want to tell somebody about themselves, give somebody a piece of your mind. Listen, you don't got time for that. Show love, let love abide, and let God do the rest. And if it's just that bad where you can't agree to disagree, or you can't make it work, it's all right. Separate for a while. Sometimes you got to separate from people for a while, but that doesn't mean that you cannot become friends again, or it doesn't mean that you can't be okay to speak and say hello. It is okay. It is okay to love people from a distance. It is okay to love people where they are and allow people to grow and mature through their process. We all have a process to go through. We all have to grow. We all have to grow up and mature in this thing called life. Some it happens quicker than others, but that's okay. Be your sister's keeper. Pull a coattail, whatever you got to do, but don't leave nobody behind. Don't leave anybody by the wayside. I love you. Thank you for joining me on tonight for Sanctity of Sisterhood. I am my sister's keeper. We are back. Thank you to everybody. Share this post if you haven't already shared it. I love you guys. If you have a topic that you would like for us to talk about, let me know. Inbox me. I love you. Have an amazing night. Have an amazing rest of your week. I pray that God blesses you and grants you the desires of your heart according to his word. God bless you. Good night.